Education would be the next thing I would talk to my 20-year-old self about, and that's making sure that I educate myself continuously. Lifelong learning is important, and not just about investments and tax strategies, but also about, growing as a person. Hi, and welcome to Beyond the Paycheck. I'm Paula Christine. So a couple of weeks ago, I was asked to participate in a workshop for a friend of mine, and she asked me to talk about building wealth and what I would do if I could go back and talk to my 20-year-old self. Well, my immediate reaction was just stand up in front of everybody and say, get started early and take advantage of compounding. But that's not realistic, and that's not what everybody needs to hear. So I broke it down into 9 different steps that I would take, or 9 different principles that I would have to build my wealth. And as you'll notice, none of them are going to be talking about rates of return. That is important, but it's not necessarily what's going to get you to your goals, or to build your wealth. So the first thing I thought about is mindset. I've talked about my mindset in the past and how it was not the proper mindset to have to build wealth. But once I shifted, I did. So what is your mindset? I would say 20-year-old self, 20-year-old Paula, let's make sure that we have a positive mindset. So we want to have that mindset that says, no matter what, I might be stuck right now, but it's all going to work out. I'm going to achieve everything that I want. I just have to have faith, and I just need to be positive. Because if you go down that negative train, negative shit just keeps happening and happening and happening. But if you can kind of turn that around and start to think positively, then things might. Now, I don't think things will, but things will. I know for sure things will turn around. Then I'd want to talk about my money, or figure out my money personality. Am I a spender? Am I a saver? And am I an investor? What is my money personality, and how can I work within that personality to achieve all my next thing that we're going to talk about, which is goals. What are your goals? Of course, everybody wants to retire at some point in their life, but is that retirement early? Maybe in your 50s, maybe in your 40s, maybe that's in your 60s or 70s. But whatever that goal is, you want to know that you want to set those goals today. Now, other goals might be building an emergency fund, buying a home, purchasing a car, going to college. What else? Maybe buying a cottage, traveling around the world. Whatever your goals are, you want to know what they are, and then how you're going to go about achieving them. Next, I would talk about financial health and maintaining a good financial health. And what I mean about financial health is that you're living within your means. So you have your goals and your expenses and your income. And your income typically equals out your goals and your expenses. And we don't have a deficit. Now, if we have a deficit, then we might have to rethink some of our goals and our expenses. So we want to make sure we have a good financial health. That also means having a good credit score and maintaining a good credit score. Next, we talk about all the different risk factors out there. And it's not just investment risk. There's market risk is investment risk, but there's inflation risk, and there's savings risk. For a long time there, we didn't have, our savings was like in the toilet for a rate of return. And that has changed recently, but just imagine it's probably going to go back down at some point. What other risk might we have? Maybe the risk of illness, the risk of disability, the risk of premature dying, not necessarily would not affect you building wealth, but maybe affect your legacy that you're going to leave to maybe your children or spouse, if that is a goal of yours to get married and have children. So there are a lot of different risks that we want to make sure that we, protect against. And health and disability is one of the biggest ones that I know, along, of course, with investment return risk. So next, we want to think about, the investment options that are out there, and make sure that we have a diversified portfolio with, growth stocks, value stocks, small cap, large cap. Municipal bonds may be important to you, corporate bonds. I prefer that you invest in individual bonds versus a bond fund, just so that you have more control and better knowledge of what's going on when you invest in those bonds. We want to understand how cash works, cash equivalents. We want to understand, international, emerging markets, and how those all affect and how those all go into your portfolio, and how they will I think my email just made a little beep if you just heard that. But anyway, so we want to understand all our investment options. Next, which I think is very important, and most people, at least when they get to my age, up there, that they hadn't done this and they put all their money in pre-tax dollars. Because when I was growing up, everybody was told to invest in your traditional IRA and 401k, max it out as much as possible so that you would save taxes today, because it went in before taxes. And then when it pulled out, you would pay taxes on your withdrawals because, you were going to be in a lower tax bracket. I don't believe that that's going to be true for a lot of us. If you save enough, you're likely to be in the same tax bracket as you are today. So there are different types of investment strategies and tax strategies that I would love to have told my 20-year-old self, because I would have been building my money in a non-qualified account until the Roth IRA came around, and then I would be putting all my money into the Roth IRA. And if I still had more money to invest after my non-qualified in my Roth, then I would be looking at pre-tax dollars. And I'd only be doing the pre-tax if it had if it had some sort of benefit for me today. And then I would be trying to manage that correctly. But ideally, if I could manage just investing again in the Roth and the non-qualified money, I would go ahead and do that. Now, the next thing that I wish somebody would have told me when I was 20 was to develop a passive income strategy. So a passive income strategy is income that's paid to you regularly that not necessarily has to do with your 9-to-5 job. So it could be rental properties. It could be that you have a side hustle. It could be that you're teaching courses online. What's the reason we want passive income? So just think about this. Let's say that your bills were $3,000 a month and you went to work every day, your 9-to-5 job, and it covered your expenses, covered your savings goals. But let's say you had a passive income strategy that came in from maybe a rental properties or the side hustle, and that came in and covered $3,000 a month for your expenses. Now, you get into a job that you really don't like, or you get let go, or the company closes, or something happens and you lose that income. Maybe you become disabled. That passive income will pay your income or pay your expenses. So think about it. It's almost like you'll have two incomes coming in, and eventually maybe your goal is to retire early from that 9-to-5 job and just manage your passive income strategies at, say, 45. Sounds pretty good to me. I wish somebody would have taught me that, or maybe they tried to and I didn't listen when I was in my 20s. But I would have loved to have built a passive income strategy from real estate and renting out properties. That would have, if I could go back, I'm still kind of thinking of it today, but if I could go back, that's the income strategy that I would have developed. Education would be the next thing I would talk to my 20-year-old self about, and that's making sure that I educate myself continuously. Lifelong learning is important, and not just about investments and tax strategies, but also about growing as a person. It's super important to stay up to date on what's going on in the economy and what's going on in the world to make sure that we are making great decisions, or maybe not necessarily great, but logical decisions as we're going forward with all the knowledge that we have. And the last thing that I would tell myself is be flexible. Shit's going to happen, and, it might give us a setback, but that's okay, because we've been doing all the right things since we were 20, and we're going to be okay because we've built that emergency account. We've got that passive income. We've got our investments. So if something happens, it's going to be okay. We're going to work through it. So be flexible. Might need to change some of your goals down the road. They might not become as important to you as you get into your 40s and 50s as they were in your 20s. So if I could go back and tell my 20-year-old self all this stuff, I wonder where I would be today. Probably on some, let's see, this is May. So I think I probably would be traveling Europe and enjoying some of the beautiful countryside of Europe. Anyway, thanks for listening. I'm Paula Christine. Oh, and by the way, I do have a course called Making Money Matter. If you want to check that out, we talk about all of these things in that course and could help you get started no matter what age you are in building your wealth. Talk to you soon.